I remember when I bought my first house and what an adventure it was and how I thought it would be. So I think I was 29 and I decided, okay, I want to buy my first house. At the time, my dad had been a real estate investor for years, and I had been asking him, Dad, I need your help. I need your help. And he was busy with his own projects. And so I decided, let me figure it out on my own. And that's what I did. I had watched him over the years do this type of investment, but not really diving in myself. But finally, after 29 years, I decided, all right, let me dive in. So one thing I will tell you, when you're looking for a home and you're thinking about something like that, there's actually pre-work that you need to do before you start looking. And I know for some of you, you may have heard that, but I'm telling you that will save your entire life. So first of all, you have to figure out, do you have cash to pay for a house or to put a down payment? What is your credit score? If you can get approved for something, and the financial aspect of it, you have to figure that out first. Now, unless you have a couple $100,000 sitting around in an account and you can just pick something and buy it. Not talking to you guys. I'm talking about the average person that's going to need a loan or to do some sort of financing. There is what I would call creative financing available, where an owner will act as a bank. And I'll make that another video, but that's one of your options. But overall, you need to find out, how am I going to pay for it, and if I can qualify for paying for it. So you need to first figure out what your credit looks like. There's a lot of realtors, if you're working with a realtor, that have connections to where they can help you with that. But your credit score is going to be first, figuring out what that is, what the requirements are for the various types of loans that you're going to get. But get that solidified first. One thing I learned by the hard way was just a letter of the bank saying, you've been pre-approved means nothing. I learned that at the closing table for my first house, and I had to restructure and just scramble all over again. So I had a letter from the lender saying, okay, you're approved, you're pre-qualified, which means nothing. Unless you have an official qualification letter that you are qualified for such and such, that's what means something. So with pre-qualified, the lender has the ability of looking at your situation for a 100th time and say, maybe I'll give you, 80%, and you got to figure out the other 20%, because that's what happened to me. And so here I am at the closing table, and they're saying at the very end, we'll finance you for 80%. The other 20%, you got to figure out for yourself. So I hit a wall. So luckily, and thank God, the people that I was buying the house from, it was a family. And so they decided, okay, we will do what's called a carryback. So a carryback was 20% of the loan. They actually let me pay them back in a particular account every month. And then the 80%, the mortgage company actually jumped in and they qualified me for. So I'm in the loan. And basically, that's the only way I bought the first house. Now, I'll tell you something else that came up that you really need to be aware of. And I'm telling you this because I hope you never run into this. So one of the things that I had hovering over my head was there was a few student loans at that time that had become due. And they were, so at that time, there were a few student loans that had become due, and they were in default, which means I owed the money back. I had went past the time of paying it back, and I hadn't done anything. And so now I've got the Department of Education calling me saying, hey, Lisa, if you don't pay us $4,500, you're not going to close on this loan. And so here I am again at a wall, and I'm like, what the heck? I've already put notice on my apartment that I was in, had already got everything ready to move. It was me and the kids, and I was just like, what the heck? Luckily, God stepped in again, and my lender and also the real estate agent at the time, they split the amount I owed. They paid it up front, which means they're going to forego their commissions in order for me to pay for this house, to get in this house. So I was able to get into the house. And then later on, I had a lump sum money come from a source that I wasn't expecting, and I was able to pay them back right away. So the moral to the story is have your ducks in a row, do your homework, have your finances in order, make sure it looks the way a lending company would want to see it way before you start looking. Looking for a house, the specific one, is the last thing that you do before you actually dive in. Because if you don't have the financial part together, it doesn't matter. I was just very lucky, and I had God on my side that kind of, bailed me out a couple of times. But yeah, get the financial part together first. It'll save you a lot of time. Most times they want to see a year or two of working history or some sort of business. They want the scores to be a certain amount. I mean, there's things that you need to make sure before you start getting, light-eyed, oh my God, I love that house, because I've seen so many people do that. They look first, find the house they love, and they find out financially nobody's going to approve me for it, so I can't get it. So don't go that way. Go the other way. So this is video 1 about this. We'll talk about this later, but this is the first little snippet just to say, here's something to watch out for. Here's how you do this. I have a great experience of 20 plus years in buying property and buying multiple properties, but I want to keep you from having the same mistakes that I had and stumbling over the same things. Be smart and connect with a mentor. Connect with someone that actually does this, that can actually be in your corner as well. That's another thing. If you can find a mentor for something that you're trying to accomplish and do that, because it'll save you a heck of a lot of heartache and work. All right? Until next time, this is Nana Says. Bye, guys.